On an international flight, a Frenchman and an Italian found themselves sitting next to an American. After enjoying a few drinks during the flight, they began to talk about their personal lives. The Frenchman, feeling boastful, started the conversation. "You know, last night I was quite romantic with my wife. We made love 4 times. And you know what? This morning, she prepared some delicious treats for me and expressed her deep love and admiration for me." Not to be outdone, the Italian joined in with his own story. "Well, last night was an exceptional night for me too. I made love to my wife 6 times. And what a morning it was. She cooked me an exquisite omelette and told me she could never think of being with any other man." The American had been listening quietly all this time. The Frenchman, feeling quite pleased with himself, turned to the American and asked with a smug look, "And what about you? How many times did you make love to your wife last night?" "Just once," the American replied calmly. "Only once?" The Italian asked with a bit of arrogance in his voice. "And what did your wife say to you this morning?" The American simply shrugged his shoulders and said, "She said, 'Don't stop.'" In Montana, there was a man who owned a small but charming ranch. One day, the Labor Department received a complaint that he was not paying his employees fairly. To investigate the matter, they sent an investigator to the ranch. Upon arrival, the investigator got straight to business. He asked the ranch owner, "Could you please tell me how many people work for you and the wages you pay them?" The rancher answered without hesitation, "Well, I have a ranch hand who's been with me for 3 years. I pay him $1,200 every week, and he also gets free room and board here on the ranch. Then there's the cook. He's been here for a year. I pay him $1,000 weekly, plus he too enjoys free room and board." The rancher paused for a moment, and then added, "There's also another guy. We call him the half-wit. He's the one who ends up doing about 90% of the work here. His day starts early and ends late, working a staggering 18 hours a day without a single day off. He earns about $10 a week, pays for his own room and board. Though, as a small token of appreciation, I buy him a bottle of bourbon every Saturday night. Oh, and occasionally he sleeps with my wife." The investigator, intrigued by this last part, quickly said, "Aha, it's that guy I would like to talk to." The rancher looked at the investigator and replied, "You're talking to him." In an old neighborhood, there's a peculiar establishment known to attract a specific type of clientele. This place is filled with various items that might seem odd to the uninitiated, but are quite familiar to the regulars. Among the many features of this establishment, one of the most distinctive are several small booths. These booths are arranged in pairs, each sharing a common wall with a hole about the size of a fist. On a particular day, a young, attractive woman steps into this establishment. She looks around anxiously, hoping not to be recognized by anyone familiar, and quickly makes her way into one of these secluded booths. In the booth next to hers, separated only by the thin wall with the small hole, an old man sits waiting. He's a regular here and has seen many things in his time. The young woman, still a bit nervous, closes the booth door behind her. She leans close to the hole in the wall and whispers shyly, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I've been a very naughty girl." The old man on the other side takes a moment to collect himself. With the wisdom of someone who's been part of many such dialogues, he whispers back gently, "You've got the general idea right, but usually it starts with, 'Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.'" One sunny day at a golf course, a senior gentleman approached the local golf professional and proposed a friendly game. To make it interesting, he suggested a wager of $100. However, there was a catch. The elderly man said, "I'm not nearly as skilled as you, so to make it fair, you need to give me 2 gotchas during our game." The golf pro, puzzled by the term gotcha, but intrigued by the challenge, agreed without asking for further explanation. They shook hands and set off for their round of golf. After the game, they returned to the clubhouse where the other golfers were quite surprised to see the pro handing over $100 to the older man. Curious, one of the members inquired about what had happened on the course. The golf pro, looking a bit flustered, explained, "Well, we were at the first hole, and I was just about to swing at the tee. Right as I brought my club down, this crafty old man reached out, grabbed me between my legs, and shouted, 'Gotcha.' Can you imagine trying to play the remaining 17 holes waiting for the second gotcha?" A missionary found himself on a beautiful South Pacific island, where he was spending time with the local village chief, teaching him some basic English. As they were strolling through the lush landscape of the island, they came upon various things the missionary used for teaching. Coming across a small stream, the missionary pointed towards it and said to the chief, "Stream." The chief, eager to learn, looked at the water flowing gently and repeated, "Stream." They continued their walk along the path, enjoying the peaceful surroundings. Soon, the missionary pointed towards a bird perched on a nearby branch and said, "Bird." The chief looked up, saw the bird, and dutifully repeated, "Bird." As they walked a bit further, the missionary suddenly noticed a couple having sex in the grass. He was taken aback and, in a moment of uncertainty, didn't know how best to explain this to the chief. Thinking quickly, he pointed to them and said, "Man riding bicycle." The chief looked at the scene, and without a moment's hesitation, pulled out his blowgun. He swiftly shot 2 poisoned darts at the couple. The missionary was shocked and horrified. He turned to the chief and asked, "Why did you do that?" The chief replied, "Man riding my bicycle." A couple had been happily married for over 60 years. They shared every aspect of their life together, talked about every topic under the sun, and had no secrets between them, except for one thing. The wife had a shoebox on the top shelf of her closet, and she had always told her husband to never open it or ask her about it. Throughout their long marriage, the husband had always respected her wish and never thought much about the box. However, one day the situation changed. The wife became gravely ill, and the doctor told them she wouldn't recover. In light of this sad news, the husband, while organizing their affairs, remembered the shoebox. He took it down from the closet and brought it to his wife's bedside. She nodded, indicating it was time for him to learn the box's secret. When he opened it, he was surprised to find 2 crocheted dolls and a stack of money amounting to $10,000. Confused and curious, he asked his wife to explain. She began, "When we were about to get married, my grandmother shared with me the secret to a happy marriage. She told me never to argue with you. Instead, if I ever got angry, I should remain quiet and crochet a doll." The husband was deeply moved by her words. There were only 2 dolls in the box, which meant she had only been angry with him twice in their many years of marriage and love. He felt an overwhelming sense of joy and gratitude. But one question still remained. He asked her, "Honey, I understand the dolls, but what about all this money? Where did it come from?" The wife simply replied, "Oh, that. I made that money by selling the dolls.